No banner, no names, no banners. We're so like just freestyling this show. There we go.
There we go.
Little there's a banner there at least. There's a banner. Do we have
There's-
names? It doesn't matter what your name is.
It
JML here.
doesn't matter what your
Couple,
name is.
couple jabronis.
Oh, you know what it is? Remember with the banner, there's no names.
Right. That's okay.
think that was
They know who we are by now, I think.
See?
Oh, we got names. Oh, but there's no banner.
There's no. You should be able to do both.
That's okay.
You
You have
should be
to,
able to do
yeah,
both.
you should be able to do both.
What's up, Ethan? Ethan Miller. Ethan Miller. We're gonna send out some cards your way. With some extras.
Yeah, load to the chat.
Still working on shipping from today's break. You can see stuff behind me. Well, not today's, but yesterday's. So, what's up, Tina, Pat, Ethan, Russ Rice? We've got a few people in here. That's pretty good. You know, not opening cards today, which is we're going to be talking about wrestling. I guess we'll talk about one thing right off the bat. I had a huge hit last night in WWE Immaculate. The premiere set of WWE. I am one of the select few to hit a one-of-one WWE Shield. And of all people, it's The Miz. And I think Charlie and I's friendship started over a couple of things. We both love the Crow. I think that was the first thing. When I noticed your Crow, it can't rain all the time, little thing, like a little painting that you had in your apartment at the time. And then we both were like, you know what was a great WrestleMania vignette promo? The Miz Hate Me Now. Yeah. And we like literally said it at the same time, and I was like, man. And then you also liked because I saw your tattoo of the Used, and I was like, sign me up for this friendship. So, love at first sight, me and Charlie. But no, so like, I think Charlie, out of all people, will understand like how much pulling that particular one-of-one meant to me, because that was like, it was just really cool to pull that card. And Charlie, actually, his first break he was ever in, got the Roxanne Immaculate rookie card and a Rhea Ripley auto. Fire Frank with the G spot. The G spot was not moist for you.
It didn't have a good name.
I'm gonna have to hold back your cards until the next break, where it's actually like worth sending you out the cards. But announcement, I'm actually running back the same break next Sunday. It's going to be live on the website after this show. So claim your spots after the show.
The San Diego cards?
Yep. It's going to be 3 boxes of Select and a Immaculate hobby box.
Nice.
So Frank's like,
hey,
I'm in.
We won.
How's everyone doing in chat?
It's okay. We all hit our first break. It's good.
We have Eric Miller in chat. We have father and son in chat. That's always good to see. The other good thing is this channel. We have some announcements on the horizon. We've hit certain thresholds with this channel. Couple things in the works. It's pretty cool stuff that we're going to be working on. We had an AEW pay-per-view last night. I'm just going to be honest. I didn't watch any of it. A little preoccupied. Frank went to the movie theater and watched it. It's actually a smart move because you paid less to see it in a movie theater than you would have paid to watch it at home.
Yep, and then I didn't have to deal with Bleacher Report's janky app. Yeah. Nice, comfortable seats there in the City Center cinemas in White Plains, New York. So got a nice reclining chair. Took a nap or two during the show just because it was so comfortable.
Now, all I've heard about this pay-per-view, and once again, another AEW pay-per-view where the in-ring stuff doesn't seem to matter. It's what happened outside the ring with MJF throwing a drink that he thought was water into a kid's face. The kid obviously was very upset. This was supposedly an unplanned spot, and the water that he thought he threw into the kid's face was actually tequila. So it probably did burn. It probably hurt a little bit. But again, this is wrestling. Like a heel playing a heel. I get it. It's a young kid. His feelings were upset. But are we going to sit there and crucify MJF for playing his character?
I mean, apparently the kid went backstage and they're getting him tickets to the show on Wednesday, so everything's fine. So, yeah, it's a question on what you think these old school heel tactics could are still flying in today's age. I mean, that's the least of the things they used to do. We've seen people rip up signs, we've seen people shove, we've seen all kinds of stuff. I don't know.
What's up, Kent?
I can't be mad at a man for trying to be an actual heel, which is he's trying to do.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I don't think it was that big of a deal. Like I'm not getting on my high horse all the way up here as the internet loves to do. I don't know. I didn't hear much about that. I thought it was a funny spot, and then I heard it wasn't water. Oh, nice. And that's about it. I mean, the match was good. Of course, not surprising.
Yeah, the match.
The Iron Man match. It was pretty fun.
67 minutes.
Yeah. What a shock! Overtime, right? Yeah. That Tony Khan had to get relayed to Tony Schiavone, who had to run down to the ring. And I was joking. I was joking. What happens if you just made that up? And Tony Khan goes, "I never said that. What are you talking about, Schiavone?" That's why Schiavone isn't a trusted journalist, as Tony let us know weeks ago. But yeah, that was quite the finish there, involving an oxygen tank.
Yep.
And the referees being distracted for no apparent reason, which is the AEW special.
Yep. It's pretty cool to see Mark Briscoe getting some time on AEW. I think him and Luchas are a really good fit right now together.
Yeah, that was a fun little match on their pre-show, which last night for some reason was only one match. It was very odd. It was a very strange, not like their typical pre-shows, which are usually packed with matches. It was one match.
According to Tony Khan, they have a very limited roster, which doesn't make sense when you employ like about 200 people.
Well, I will say this for Tony last night. He didn't feel the need to add any more extra matches. They had 8 matches on a pay-per-view card.
Yeah,
with an hour.
So including the pre-show, it's 9.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't feel the need to add. I mean, they could have probably took one of the two of those off anyway, but they didn't feel the need to add 12 matches with an Iron Man match, which typically would happen back in some of their shows. So it was paced a little bit better, even though we were still getting out of there close to midnight. So
yeah,
then having to get an Uber home, having to get an Uber home from White Plains at 12 midnight is always fun. But yeah, I mean they got to go 4 hours. They got to go. But yeah, good for Mark Briscoe. Too bad it took these circumstances to get on AEW proper. I guess he's going to be on both, AEW and the ROH on Sci-Fi, as I like to call it, which is.
I mean, ROH.
Tony Khan said Honor Club has got the most subscribers it's ever had, according to Tony, and he's not one to lie, right? So
this whole thing with
seems to be working.
Eddie Kingston leaving AEW to go to ROH. How dumb do they think people are?
Well, considering that they taped it a week before he quit, yeah.
Ricky Starks defeated Chris Jericho. I mean, that had to happen.
Yeah, that had to happen. And it was pretty definitive. There was no like signs of that following up on, and it shouldn't be. He should be moving on. I mean, this is a year, as a revolution, a year since this whole JS stuff started. So I think.
Well, this was actually probably the best booked pay-per-view that he's done in a very long time, considering his younger talent that he's trying to cultivate all went over on this pay-per-view.
I didn't have any arguments against everybody, any of those decisions last night.
No, the decisions were.
I mean, people might question why the Guns were still tag champ, but there's a reason. Obviously, what happened after the match, as I said.
It looks like Christian Cage is leaving AEW.
If he's not, that was a pretty talk about a burial.
I think he's out. I think he's good. I think, and I said this. I said it was bad timing for him to go to AEW. Between a lot of factors, AEW brought in a bunch of big stars like almost immediately after he signed with them. But then he probably should have stuck around to have a program with Edge, like that Royal Rumble. Like, everyone loved Edge being. Christian being in that Rumble with Edge.
I mean, at the time they were saying they didn't weren't interested really in keeping him around. But I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to give him as big a deal as he wanted. I'm not sure what happened there.
I think he's going to end up in WWE. I think
it's probably good that it happens now.
Right now,
I would say
final run.
Yeah, I mean,
if this is Edge's final run, it has to be with
somewhere
Christian.
In there. Right? There's got to be at least one.
To have Christian in there, and I think Tony Khan realizes that too. And I think they sat down and they said, "Hey, your contract runs up in a few months, anyways. Why don't we just part ways now?" Because Tony Khan is a big Christian fan. Like he's our age. He's in our age bracket. And if besides Tarek Avar, you can watch Christian, you go, that guy's a fantastic wrestler. He's one of the best in-ring competitors we've ever seen, right? He's criminally underrated. He has enough respect for him to let him out of his contract.
His in-ring psychology is like none other. He stands alone there.
He's better than Edge from that aspect. Am I saying he's a better overall package than Edge? No. Does he have the same charisma as Edge? No. But from
his in-ring psychology is above all.
Christian is just phenomenal.
He's really good at playing his characters. Like he's really always been good at that, and he can swap between face and heel like that. So yeah. It's unfortunate. Most of his best runs, unfortunately, came out of the company, out of WWE. But obviously, that Orton feud. I don't know.
Justin, we're trying to figure this out. I think he's out. He's been
out with injury for months. He came back for this match, and it was a pretty definitive ending.
There's also, the rumors of him and
that stuff.
So I think there's just a lot of things going on where it's probably better for Christian to go to WWE for his final run and Edge's final run. Because it just would make more sense.
What else is he going to do there? If he stayed, what's he going to do? The Jungle Boy stuff is done. There's nothing really else for him to do. He's not going to get a main event run there.
No.
He's just going to be another guy. So, or he can go have a money-making series of,
He can literally appear at WrestleMania this year with Edge.
Right.
Against the Judgment Day.
Yeah. Or if he's ready up and it's really, they could just promote that at a time. Even if you could have not a TLC, but some kind of, no holds barred tag team.
One more last run for Christian. He goes into the Hall of Fame, where you put Edge and Christian as a tag team, however they want to do it. Like, that's how it should be done. I actually just want to see them have one last match together, like against each other. That would be cool too.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, because them reuniting is not really overdone like the Hardy Boys and Dudley Boys we've seen it time and time again. They haven't really, done that. At the end of Edge's first, before he retired, they had a little bit of a partnership going into that Mania, but they haven't really done a full on thing. So, sure. I mean,
Christian's a smart businessman. He's smart. Very shrewd. He knows where the money is. He left WWE, went to TNA, and he was like the top paid guy in TNA before Angle.
And he handled that main event spot well.
Yeah, he was like a top star. He was a bigger star than he ever was there, and he got paid well for it. So sure.
Then he went back to WWE, made mucho dinero, again, won the world title multiple times. He knows how to work it. He's very much like Chris Jericho.
Sure.
Yeah.
He's Chris Jericho light. Very nice to see House of Black winning the titles that we don't need, the 6-man tags.
That surprised me.
It doesn't surprise me because you also have Omega's contract running up.
Right.
Do you really want to
Bidding
keep
war.
titles on people who you don't know their contractual availability?
Yeah, even Tony's not going to do that. Say what you want about him. He's not that business unsavvy. You know what I mean? So
And
yeah.
I think out of anyone in AEW, Omega, there'd be the worst. WWE would be foolish to sign Kenny Omega. I just don't think it's a good fit.
Money's on the table.
Who's he going to feud with?
Do they ever know?
It's only going to be
People, they
what's
just
going to be. It's going to be Seth. That's it.
okay.
I could make an argument. Maybe you should just go on a run, go all around doing stuff because in AEW right now, they're firmly in the mid card in this tag, this trios matches.
Yeah,
If I was him, I would probably just take some time and just, unless that's just his dream. Like everyone had a dream. He wasn't in the developmental system once before.
Their tag team doesn't have a name. Edge and Christian. I think was it when Two Dudes of Awesomeness or something like that.
They never really. Well,
I remember Edge and Christian.
they had different nicknames. Or as Howard Finkel would always introduce them as Christian and Edge.
Yeah,
it was nice of him.
Jamie Hayter defeated Saraya and Ruby Soho in the triple threat match. This is very predictable.
Yeah, I mean, and she should have won. I think. Now
She's
after the match shenanigans made very little sense, but I'm not surprised there.
I heard this Texas death match. See, I don't like death matches like this anymore, but I heard if you like death matches, this was in the wheelhouse for those people. Like this was a top-notch death match. So I'm going to leave my opinion at the door for this one. And it should be because we have Sandman 2023 in a match on a pay-per-view against the high school teacher. They should have a death match. That's great. Because that's about all they have.
Yeah.
And I hope Moxley goes away for a very, very long time. He needs it.
He does need a break. Everybody's been saying it for the longest. Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Charlie, you watched it.
It's a pretty brutal match.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. It was good. I mean, in that sense of the deathmatch way, but it was a pretty brutal fight. Obviously, all the blood, what you would think of. Moxley had a week off, so he didn't bleed for a week, so he had to get in there. He literally bled within seconds. But yeah, Hangman. I mean, Hangman needed a big win there because they've been kind of what they've done to him since his title run. I mean, he just had the worst circumstances when he finally.
They were the Brood. I mean, technically, Edge and Christian were the Brood. It's a good point.
Briefly. It was pretty brutal. Like, the only thing I didn't agree with, like, is brick to the head apparently wasn't enough to finish the match. But
I think
it's like Home Alone, as I said. It's like Home Alone in wrestling.
What I don't understand is why did we have to see these guys in about 13 different matches over the course of 4 or 5 months?
I don't like the first one. He gets hurt. Like I get that, and then they had a rematch. Like that extra one they had seemed unnecessary because it's not even a rubber match. They've now won 2 each against each other.
Yeah,
so technically, it's not even settled.
Less is more. Less is more.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, normally, unless you're our boy TK, who agrees that more is more.
Wardlow defeating Samoa Joe.
This title is like
this TNT title is the Riley Reid of championships. It is getting used, abused, and
I would say that
spit on. It violated more than any title we have ever seen.
It's like the WCW TV title in like '99, which was going on.
No, but you knew when Hobbs won the ring that it was going to be.
Let me just ask you quite like what is the point of bouncing this title around so much? I don't get it because the other titles he doesn't do that with. They're pretty long range, but this title, probably likes it. I don't know. What are we doing with Joe? What are we doing? Wardlow's pretty beyond. Like at this point, nobody cares anymore. Why are we putting
Wardlow's dead?
Like
one
he
of
was
those
dead the
guys-
minute he was done with MJF because that's what people wanted to see him turn on him because he's so hated. And then after that, what are you going to do?
They're not titles in AEW. They're participation awards.
Yeah, that's what we're getting to at this point. Yeah, I
What's
mean,
up, Ryan? I
yeah,
just
this-
don't understand.
and this was
like-
supposed to, but the thing is, this is supposed to be like the prestigious secondary title, like the main
Yeah.
title, not the world title.
Yeah.
This
Instead,
was the title.
somehow
this
Orange
was the
Cassidy-
When I
title-
saw that belt, when I
this-
first saw that belt, I'm like, that's their IC title. And look what's happened. to
unfortunately,
it.
it's their IC title circa like 99, 2000 when it's changed hands.
Yeah.
This was the title that Brody held with such esteem and honor, and they have freaking ruined it. They ruined it.
Yep.
You think about the legacy of this title. Brody was so happy when he won this title. It was his lasting legacy before his unfortunate passing. And they have treated this title so poorly.
Absolutely.
I can't get over it. They should retire this title.
But I just let's think about what happened here. The Wardlow Joe thing. Getting back to after he took the title from him, we went through Darby winning it for no pointless reason for a week or two. Him winning it
Well,
back.
he needed time off. Why
Guevara
does he need
winning
time
it 8,000 times.
Well, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Well, we had that time where they had to have a interim championship because Cody was going to miss a week with COVID because apparently we couldn't go a week without another title change. I don't know. This belt is like.
Can I ask you guys a question?
I mean, when like I said, when Orange Cassidy's like all Atlantic, Pacific Ocean, East Coast, whatever you want to call it, title belt is more prestigious now. Than the
And
TNT
this
title.
could even go out to
Yeah.
chat, whoever watches AEW. Who's one of the biggest stars that they're trying to push in the company? Who's one of their biggest stars? This particular person has a huge undefeated streak.
Jade.
Well, why is she not on the pay-per-view?
I had the same question because, like every pay per view for the last 2 years, we've had a reason to put her on. Now, nothing. Not only that, they've completely dropped her off TV. It seems like they dropped her stable. They ended it with no real payoff. I don't like you spent all this time building this, then you just well, we'll just
Again, this is when you have too many titles. When you have too many like have
Can't
one
focus on-
women's championship. You haven't booked the one women's championship well enough
where you
to,
need to.
to have a second one.
Facts.
That's the point. Like Jade, for all intents and purposes, she probably should just be the AEW Women's Champion, and you have Jamie chasing her for the belt.
Makes sense to me.
They signed Paige. They've literally done
Nothing.
F all with her. I don't know. This is what happens when you let someone just control an entire company with no other input. No input. He's got valuable people in that locker room that he could turn to for advice, and it just seems like he's just winging it. Nothing makes sense. You tell me,
It's telling.
out of this card, one storyline that's remotely as good as even Dom versus his father with mommy and going to jail. I'm not even going to bring up the bloodline. I'm just bringing up that storyline.
No, you're right.
What storylines were in this pay-per-view that you wanted to spend $60 on this show of hard-earned money?
It wasn't so much. It was 50. Thank God it wasn't 60. But
Tax. You have tax. You have tax, so it's like 55.
it was more so the match card than any storyline because I don't follow AEW. The last AEW I watched was the Go Home show for this, and that I didn't like. But
I mean, that's it though, Charlie. You hit the nail. That's what it is. They sell. Come watch these good matches.
yeah,
Which is okay, I guess.
Which is okay.
darn card.
But here's the thing. Were you surprised with any of the results on this card outside of the Guns
The only
defending.
match that I was slightly
That's even
surprised by the
surprising.
results was what's called
House of Black.
House of
Elite
Black.
losing. Yeah, Elite losing the House of Black.
I wasn't surprised about that.
I wouldn't say I was super surprised about that either.
I would say the
No.
Guns would be more retaining in that
Yeah.
manner.
Yeah, I thought the Acclaim was going to take it back, but
Speaking of,
MJF after 67 minutes retains.
you knew MJF was going to retain though.
Yeah,
He
because
has
Danielson has literally been a nobody since he's appeared on AEW television.
Yeah,
He's
Apparently-
lost every big match. All of a sudden, he's going to beat MJF here.
apparently that's what he wanted. He's happy with it. That's what he wanted.
And at this point,
The man is
here's
openly
the
bred.
issue. Here's the real issue. Here's the underlying issue. Who do they have on their current roster that can take the belt from MJF? I'm waiting. I hit the silence.
Besides the usual suspects, no, nobody.
There's no usuals. Hangman's going to beat him.
Well, he could. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying it's the
The
only people
only
we go back
person,
to.
the
Who have
only
nothing to do with
person,
credibility.
and it seems like they're building this person up, but it's way too early. Is Starks.
yeah. They're
Better
clearly
revisit.
investing in him.
And
So.
they will have to revisit that. You'd have to think any kind of logic, since he was.
But
given
let's
a
be
strong
realistic. The
backing.
only person that makes sense to beat MJF, and there's some
Yeah.
people in chat that are gonna just tell me to go F myself.
I don't think they're.
It's a returning CM Punk.
I
It
don't
just
think
makes
they're
more
going to say it
sense.
anymore. I'm seeing more of that sentiment. It went from why? Because they're seeing the numbers, they're seeing the interest down, and people are panicking. Like, oh wait, you're right. As we
You
said
have to
a
have-
month ago.
And he can come back now as a heel, and you can have MJF be more of a tweener.
Sure.
He doesn't have to throw tequila in some 8-year-old's face. That's how they'll actually get some ratings.
Hey, I
Their
mean,
ratings have been in
again,
the dump for months.
he had to throw the drink in the kid's face. He was shocked to see a child there. Usually, I mean, then they showed it out. They showed a close up of some women in the crowd. They said, "There's women here besides Jungle Boy's mom." It's pretty impressive. I'm not joking. I've been to like 4 or 5 AEW shows. It's majority. Like I was joking to John last night. In our section, it was just us. The only woman that was there was our friend Davey's friend. So that was it. We had one. I think she was the only in the entire section, perhaps.
Jeez.
I was surrounded by dudes. Yeah, I mean, I literally when I went to All Out 2 years ago in Chicago, they literally were adding men's rooms where the women's room were. They're putting signs up. This is an extra men's room now.
Wow.
They knew their audience. That's all I'm going to say. They knew their
Wow.
audience. Anyway, off the tangent. Yeah. And speaking of like to bring it back, we didn't talk about with Punk coming back. Another somebody did return last night.
Oh, FTR came back.
Yep.
FTR came back. Now, yeah, once the Guns like retained, I was like, okay, so FTR is coming out right now. And then Renee comes in the ring, like obviously they're coming out. So,
But for how long are they going to be around?
I don't know. Nobody seems to know because they don't. If they re-signed, Tony would be bragging about it on Twitter. I'm sure.
That's
So-
what I'm saying. He would have said, staying in elite.
We wouldn't
Whatever.
hear the end of it.
So is this just they're just going to finally use them at the end of their contract to put
And
over
just
the Guns?
To put over the Guns? Probably.
Possibly, yeah.
MJF said that he was the best in the world. Is he also
He
trying
did.
to coax Punk to come back?
He did yell that to the camera, along with my favorite line of the night, which was, "Oh, did I just lose a star off this match, Dave?"
Yeah. That I popped for that. That
he,
was
went-
great.
he stalled outside the ring. Then he
That was
said,
fantastic.
"Am I not going to win the Bryan Danielson Award now?" Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Well, speaking of AEW and AEW alum, we had a nice little Friday night SmackDown. Started off with a in-ring segment with Roman and Cody.
First time.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Us three, we have a little group chat, and I watched that entire segment the following morning, Saturday morning.
Yeah, I think we all three of us watched it at a different time, but
And I
yeah,
said, I think the quote, and I'm going to paraphrase my quote, Roman Reigns is in the GOAT conversation. I think he's the best WWE champion of all time. And like that's my hot take. And the more I think about it, he is. He really is. You tell me from a business aspect, the only person that moved more merch and a little bit more revenue is Austin.
Cena's moved more merch than Roman Reigns.
More merch, but tickets and gates, big pay-per-views.
Okay.
Roman
Okay.
has been moving the needle.
In a rough time, in a time where it's very difficult, obviously drawing people still coming back to shows. Yeah. You can't like starting this whole run in that, Thunderdome era and having to then carry.
Usually when people have long title reigns, right?
Yeah.
You get the Triple H syndrome where it seemed like, oh man, we want Triple H to lose this title.
Right.
There's people that they still don't want to see Roman really lose the title.
It's amazing that you can still make an argument without sounding too crazy if you wanted to. Of course.
Do you think for the people that have listened to this show in the past, I've gone record, I think the best thing for business is Cody being the heel. Roman.
Switch.
Yeah.
Switch. Happen. He needs to
switch. Double turn.
Because I think the fans really want to embrace Roman, openly cheer Roman.
Sure.
Roman doesn't have to change his character at all.
No, they don't even have to do it. Cody, you could get your Cody big, pop big moment, and then you can gradually, as he's champion, have that change him. As we've already seen some cracks, like you mentioned the other night in our chat.
Yeah,
he said if my father really believed, like he said, this is what he said during that promo. If my father really thought that Roman was better than me, then I have to prove that I need this title and this title belongs to me. And I'm like, it is a necessity for him to win the title. Yeah,
because what else? You could make an argument. I could always make an argument wrong. People were saying 2 years ago, WrestleMania, he should lose. I'm like, no. You gotta have the right person. Who else? At this point, who else?
I hate to say it, but I could see Roman going over at WrestleMania.
Whoa.
I just don't know. I just don't know what we're leading to. I just don't know what we're leading to. Because if we're doing that, what just happened there?
There I am.
There we go. Little.
Oh, I thought
that's the first time that's ever happened.
Howdy was coming in or something. I'm sorry.
I totally forgot about that.
That's going to me that I can see Roman going over at WrestleMania, and I'm a huge Cody Rhodes fan.
Eduardo says Dominic champ. He'll probably win a singles title at some point.
King of the Ring.
I tell you, we were in agreement. King of the Ring.
Kingdom.
Kingdom.
Oh.
Come on.
That's juicy. Cody has to win the title, though, at Mania. He has to win at least one of them. This is where I'm saying I think there's got to be something there with Heyman. You have to have Heyman somehow contractually screw Roman out of a title. They haven't played this yet, but you could still keep one title on Roman, have Cody win a title.
Yeah, but how are they going to go about that? Would it be like a slip in the contract signing for the match?
Yeah, have they signed the contract yet? Have they had the official contract signing?
They will, obviously. We know they will.
So you think Heyman will pull one over there?
Well, that's pulling one over on Cody then.
Yeah, it is pulling one over on Cody.
But actually, if he's going to really be a heel, what he would do is say it's not for the WWE title, which is the title he actually wants.
Yes, it's for the Universal title,
which is actually more valuable at this moment because that's the actual 900-day reign right there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. there's ways you can go about it. Everybody's been fantasy booking the ending of this because nobody thought this unified title was even going to last this year. Everybody assumed last year was going to be split up. And again, I'll say it again. I said in the show, I don't mind it. I don't think we need two champions
This
necessarily.
This has me thinking more about our group chat in you saying that this was the main event of main events for WrestleMania. Like, I can't remember this hype since WrestleMania 17.
This is the biggest main event since WrestleMania 17. But I can't remember one bigger. The only one really is the Michaels retirement against Taker. But it wasn't for a title.
Yeah,
that's just retirement versus streak.
Yeah, I mean, I would make an argument. Yeah, exactly. Because you were talking title matches. Rock versus Cena. The first one had a lot of hype, but it wasn't a title match. The second one was less,
Yeah.
Type. So yeah,
because you knew what was going to happen.
You have two. It feels like we have like two, like the top possible heel champion versus the top possible babyface character. I know people.
As a fan since '93, I can't remember a WrestleMania main event being this hyped since WrestleMania 17.
Well, think about it. You have Roman. Roman hasn't lost in over 3 years. You've got Cody, who hasn't lost yet since he came back.
Well, the whole thing with Cody is, he still, even though he was in WWE prior, he still has the outsider kind of label to him.
Yeah,
right? Like the guy that made his name outside of WWE now kicking down the door.
It does.
Smashing the throne in the main event of WrestleMania.
It does truly feel like he's not the same guy. Like that guy was not him. Even when he had his run, it's just not. It doesn't feel like the same. He feels obviously way more important now, and not just from going away, coming back. So it's like you have. I know I got Sammy here. Sammy is probably one of the more popular guys. They go neck and neck, but this guy is like one of your unbeatable top babyface versus the unbeatable monster heel in Roman. Yeah. It feels like an epic. That's what you want in your big main event.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's what people want, a big Super Bowl every year. They want the Cowboys against whoever.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
they
would have had that with Lesnar and Roman, but they went to that well too many times.
Right, that's the problem.
It's like when they couldn't figure out stuff 10 years ago. No, 10 years ago.
Oh.
It was Orton and Cena.
Yes.
Oh, what we'll do is we'll just have Orton and Cena have a match.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't figure out what to do. Let's just have Roman and Brock have a match.
Because they're your two big monsters, right?
Which is fine because people like to see it, but
it only works
at a certain point where you're like, man, I'm a little tired of this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the only time it worked was the first time, or as it turns out, my personal favorite of their many, many matches would be that SummerSlam.
That SummerSlam match was,
which is a car wreck, which was probably the best possible way to book a match between the two of them.
Actually, the best match involving Roman and Brock was the SummerSlam match, where it was like the fatal.
Oh, the fatal four-way. Oh yeah, in Brooklyn. Yeah, Braun and Joe. Yeah, that was a wild.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was there for that one. That one was pretty crazy. Again, I will say that.
Nice. Let me know what you get.
But this does feel pretty big, like usually, and because of that, this feels like this is a big important show, which you could not say about last night's show. No matter, even though it might probably be a better bell to bell in ring, maybe even than one of these nights of Mania is going to be. But does it feel as big? It can't, and it's not just because it's WrestleMania; it's the way it's booked.
Yeah,
but we're at this point. They're hottest. Like you said, their hottest, maybe the biggest match since 17. Maybe their hottest they've been post the end of WCW, perhaps.
Speaking of WrestleMania, we have confirmed for WrestleMania the Colossus Omos versus Brock Lesnar.
You just had to go there.
Now, this either goes one of two ways. Shenanigans right out the gate, Lesnar loses, or Brock just goes in the ring, F5 burial. There's no in between for this match. There can't be, Charlie.
Yeah. Since the match was signed, I'm like, this is just to see Brock F5 a giant man, but then somebody I saw online, there were reports of Brock taking time off from WWE or retiring in full after WrestleMania. And the wheels started spinning, and I'm like, oh no. Oh no. This means they're going to put Omos
No,
over.
they're not going to do that.
Okay.
No. I would say get off the ledge, Charlie. They've already whatever they built up in him, they've already used up by having him lose to Lashley last year's Mania and having him lose to Braun.
Yeah.
They've had him lose.
I know we don't like to believe all the internet scuttlebutt, but this definitely fits with Brock turning down other ideas. They're like, well, I guess we'll just throw you in there. But this guy we haven't seen on TV in months.
Yeah.
It's
not. I'll be honest. It's nothing I wanted to see. But
it's actually better. I'm going to be honest with you.
It's better for Brock.
It's better for Brock than being in the Lashley role right now and having to face the disaster that is known as Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy.
Yeah.
I really hope they gave Lashley something in return for this. Like they promised him something bigger because this is not an enviable position. We thought for months he was going to fight himself at WrestleMania. Unfortunately for Bobby, he's not.
I gotta say, the Uncle Howdy thing on SmackDown didn't do it for me.
It hasn't done it for me since.
And that's how it for me.
Hot takes here.
I mean, someone said, well, it's hard to book supernatural characters. And I said, no, that is true to book supernatural characters. But the way you book them is that eventually you have to humanize them. At some point in their story, they have to be humanized. The Undertaker went to an American Badass gimmick, right? And then when he went back to the Dead Man, he used elements of American Badass and the Dead Man together. Like, you have to change. Bray hasn't ever changed his character away from a cult leader, supernatural character. He's always been in that genre.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to be humanized. It's the only way for him to survive.
Which is where they could have gone with this run had he stayed rambling Bray, I'm so happy to be in front of you guys character. But here we go back with paranormal stuff.
Right. That was where it seemed like that was going. And then at the end of the segment, you see the lights go out and all that stuff.
The issue with Bray, and it comes down to what we said about MJF, like who the opponents, right? Like, who are they going to face that's believable?
That's a problem. That happened to us last time. The build up for the Fiend was great, everything was fine, and then when they actually had to put him in the ring after his first match, and then they put him in a title match, which was a terrible idea. And they couldn't figure out anything to do with him. They literally had to have Goldberg beat him because nobody else could believably beat him. It was just
Goldberg. When Goldberg beat the Fiend, I remember the internet just went ablaze.
Yeah.
Which is, I remember that, which is funny because they were just complaining about how they were over the Fiend, then he lost. Oh, how could it be? They had to. It was really, God. It was a very strange.
Thanks, T-Dog.
It's hard to remember, guys. I know that was pre-COVID. It was before a lot of plans for that Mania changed around, but we were looking at, before that happened, like Roman against the Fiend that year, maybe.
Yep.
And then, instead we had Goldberg Roman, which would have made sense then, which didn't happen. And obviously, it's funny how all this stuff led to this whole bloodline thing. Basically.
It really did.
I mean, they started the bloodline. They were originally called the bloodline on SmackDown, but they were just loosely connected baby faces. But this whole everything that happened in 2020, all these twists and turns, basically led to this. I don't know. Yeah, I stopped. Like this entire run, save that return and the first promo is like.
So after tonight. I think we'll have 2 more matches added to the Mania card. We'll have
Paul, Seth
Rollins.
That should be solidified.
Probably a show stealer.
Yeah.
And then Theory and Cena.
Cena's on Raw tonight.
It remains to be seen if it's going to be for the title. Do we think the U.S. title will be on the line for that match?
Good question.
And yeah, how would you make the story? Yeah, how would you like tie it into the story? That's the question. You could say, that was his first title that he won. They can make a
19
story
years
about-
ago.
They can make a story about how he's trying to be like him since he's looked up to him and all this stuff.
Does Cena really need the U.S. title at this point?
He would lose.
Well,
He's
he
going
would-
to lose.
He would go. I would assume he's losing, and especially if it's for the title, it's pretty blatant. I mean, they're not going to win it. So should they even bother putting it on the line if that's you're asking? Well, if he's going to be there and he's the champ and you're keeping the title on him, then yeah, I guess.
Where does Theory go after this?
That's where I want to know. That's very interesting to me.
Is Theory, if we get a Cody, right? So weird. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
My Siri decided to go off, and it went off again.
Nice.
I technical issues today. I can't believe this.
So where does Theory go after WrestleMania? He rides off of beating Cena. He
Cody?
won't shut up about it.
Possible challenge for Cody. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe after maybe the next when next pay-per-view Backlash.
Well, you have to have the
Could do
U.S.
that.
title. You have to have the U.S. title taken off of Theory, right? Because you're not going to have two titles involved in a feud like that, unless you're going to combine titles.
But I don't know.
Who are you going to have beat
Montez
Theory
Ford,
after Cena?
Tez.
Okay.
The U.S. title.
I'd love to see that.
I mean, you could even do that in the lead up.
You can just do like a triple threat or like something where Theory doesn't even have to
Theory
take
doesn't get pinned. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I know why they put the belt back on him because they're trying to, they were trying to heat him up, but he probably shouldn't have because now we're in this position, like you said. But honestly, yeah, maybe
triple threat like Rollins, Montez, and
Well, let me ask you
Theory.
this. Maybe if they had just left the title on Rollins, and would we have a Rollins, Logan Paul for that title? We could have had that. That would have made some interesting sense. But I know why they took it off. They were trying to heat him back up after they took the case off. That was just their way of trying to reset him. It's working to a degree. I mean, I think he's getting a better reaction now. They're getting away from the he's just Vince's boy stuff which storyline. Yes, he likes him. Guess who else liked him? The people that recruited him. That was not him.
Yeah.
I don't think Vince was hanging out backstage at Evolve. I mean, I was there. I didn't see him. So, although supposedly he is backstage today in Boston with his boy Cena, but that's to be expected. So the internet's probably panicking as we speak.
They're gonna be like, "This Raw sucks." Vince was in the building.
I mean, again, we've Jay Mel's brought this up time and time again. Has it really been that much better?
Really,
Or is it
hasn't
perception?
been.
Or has it just been has it been better because he was gone, or is it just happens to be perception? Like always, the perception is reality. People like, almost that means he booked Brock. I said no, he wouldn't have booked Brock and Almost. He would have booked Brock back in the title match, more likely.
You have Orton coming back.
What's that?
You have Orton coming back.
The Orton coming back. We had last week.
Does Orton come back?
Here's something we didn't talk about. We had last week. Lita and Becky won the tag titles. That don't mean so much, but
another championship that shouldn't be a championship, but
yeah,
good for them.
Yeah.
Does Orton come back before WrestleMania?
No, I think he's the night after WrestleMania.
Okay.
I don't see the need since they're not going to put him in a match. So I'd be
true.
He's got to be like a night after WrestleMania surprise.
Yeah.
We have I was going to say because we already have. We don't need if him just what would he do there making an appearance? We already
they would have had Riddle appear again.
Probably, yeah. I think that's probably why he isn't back yet either. Since this whole injury kind of derailed that whole possible breakup and all that. Although I kind of didn't want to see that at the time. No, it's been a year removed, so I'm not sure what they're going to do.
And as good as WWE has been, they have a lot of question marks post Mania.
That's what I'm really interested in, is post Mania looks like. What does our build to SummerSlam look like? Obviously, we built very well to this point. It's the follow-up that's going to matter.
Thank God they're doing Backlash instead of WrestleMania Backlash.
Thanks, Tim. We try. Even when I don't watch AEW, you posted your hits. Let me see. Let me see what he got out of Immaculate.
How about that?
He got an Ivar. I'm sure he wanted the Ivar. Shinsuke. Mandy Rose. It was an okay box. It was okay. It's not a 1-of-1 box.
Can't all be as lucky as you, JML.
It's crazy. What else? What else happened? I feel like we're missing
something here, yeah.
Is Ronda Rousey actually going to have a match at Mania? Like, what's the deal here?
Yeah, I think the women's tag championships.
I mean, she's legit injured apparently right now, which is why she was wearing that sling the other night.
Wait, so Lita and Becky took the tag titles off of Damage Control for them to now defend it, not against Damage Control, but Shayna and Ronda?
Maybe, unless we're doing a three-way again.
Three-way?
I don't know. And
what is
Trish doing? What is Bayley doing? Are they going to have a match? Is there going to be a? They're just going to do a 6-woman. That wouldn't make sense.
It just seems like a big cluster.
It does. It seemed like just to give something for Becky to do that was pseudo meaningful, since they didn't have a spot really for her this year, because they canceled any plans for her and Ronda to have a match. So it seems like it's just a way to give her something. That's like what they do when they don't know what to do. They just give you a tag title run, like Sasha last year, which obviously didn't end well. But that's what they do. We're sorry we didn't have a better match for you. So, you're still popular. Can you put these titles? Which is fine for people of our era. I mean, I guess they're training these kids to know who Lita is, that she's some kind of legend, but it doesn't mean as much as it does to like people of our age. Although, again, that moonsault last week was making me nervous every time she goes to the top rope.
She has not aged that well either.
That's unfortunately, she can't do anything about that.
I know. I'm just saying. She hasn't aged as gracefully as Trish.
It's fair to say.
My grandfather was at the WWE event when Owen Hart fell from the ceiling and died. It was crazy to see that he said they all thought it was part of the show, but it wasn't. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what else would you think?
I mean, he was coming down from the rafters as the blue blazer.
I mean, they didn't announce anything to the crowd, so that's a story you can do a whole show on.
They did. What was it?
Yeah, there were several shows done about it. I mean, as far as us, it's just, I don't. That's a rough thing to have been.
I have the book about it.
Well, speaking of WWE, I'm gonna post actually for people that want to jump in for Sunday's breaks and they're watching the show. I'm actually gonna open up those breaks for Sunday for the WWE.
Nice. And in the interim, we can talk. Let's see, what else can we talk about? Oh, we didn't talk about. We didn't have a show last week. We didn't get to talk about Tony Khan's latest big announcement.
What was his big announcement?
Whatever that reality show is that's coming on after that.
Oh yeah, what's up with that? What are they doing?
I don't know. The trailer looked immediately fake to me when they were showing, for example, like the Bucks said something and it was like insinuating they're talking about All Out, which they're not going to be talking about that. So that I immediately rolled my eyes at that. It's just some sort of pseudo.
Did they have footage of Christian and Britt Baker having an affair?
No, although if you've noticed lately, we've had a lot of shots of Britt and Adam together, like hammering home the fact. And they're going to be a part of the show, apparently.
Yeah.
This is a big part of this show, apparently, too.
Well, it's almost like they replaced Roads to the Top with this because that's what they had.
I just think it's an odd part to put it on after your show. That's the same night. I think that's
that was what Impact did. Remember when Impact had their backstage show?
Somebody remembers,
which was actually really well done. What was that?
I remember that. I brought it up when I first heard it. It made me think of that. But yeah, that one was pretty well done.
What was it called?
Yeah, you see, I was trying to remember that the other day. I couldn't recall it for the life of me. It's weird because I remember everything, right? But
it went on for a few months.
It was very well done. Yeah, that was around the time they were trying their Monday experiment, I think. But I could be wrong. But it was, it was pretty well done. But I would argue again, like just like the road show, like why would you put it on this like right after your thing? I guess because they assume your audience is going to stick around. But I don't know if I would do that. So it's not the crowd you're really going to get for these kind of things. You know, like when they had all their Total Divas shows, these weren't really marketed necessarily towards fans. They were trying to get, people just to watch it.
For sure.
And it worked. There was a lot of people that started watching because of that stuff. But anyway, yeah, that was a big announcement, which was just that. And Adam Cole had to deliver it looking like he would rather be anywhere but there. It was very strange. Very, very odd. It worked. Apparently the numbers were up that week. Then he went crashing back down when they booked a lousy card 2 weeks in a row. Go figure.
I
don't know.
I think he regrets that whole decision to sign with
probably
AEW. He was red hot.
Yeah.
NXT.
Especially at the end of his run there. He was actually still very, very red hot. Eternal and O'Reilly. Suppose he didn't like his ideas they had from him.
The ideas.
I mean, that's another thing I could talk about.
Him and Danielson should have stayed. There's no reason for them to leave.
Yeah, I mean, I argued, okay, I can see why Danielson wanted to leave. Like, he wanted to face some new opponents. Fine, okay, whatever. Like, allegedly, it's funny, last week they were discussing, he actually did a podcast, and he was discussing, like, his negotiations. A lot of people assume, like, he wanted to be able to work in Japan, which supposedly AEW was going to let him do, which they haven't. And he basically insinuated that they're not going to let him do that. But yet, supposedly, Vince said he would let him do it, which was people were shocked to hear, which I wasn't really shocked to hear because he didn't want to let one of his top guys walk away. So I can't see that why not that happening. Speaking of Adam Cole, remember when he left, supposedly the idea they wanted to make him Keith Lee's manager or something, which is funny. Yeah. We could talk about Keith Lee and how his career has gone through the toilet. Yeah, now a lot of it had to do with him being not in the best of shape. He had a bad.
And he's still not in the best of shape.
I mean, COVID did a big number on this dude, apparently.
Yeah.
But like he comes back, he's looking strange. He's wearing a cape. Maybe there's a reason why they cut bait with him when they did, because he just wasn't.
It looks like he's just going through the motions.
Yeah, he was looking like that, like at the end of WWE run too. It's like he's been like that. I understand he went through some health issues. That's nothing to joke about, but he's just another guy. Every time is passing by, he's not getting any younger. Like his whole strength was being a big dude that can do these crazy moves, but when you get slowed down, you kind of lose. He's very odd promo cutting style.
Yeah.
So when you lose that in ring, like that was the whole aspect that made him interesting. I don't know. I mean, sure. And right now he's in a place where they've got 1 million people and they have 1 million, things to do. They're just running ideas, throwing it at, whatever works. So yeah.
Frank, are you free on Saturday? Saturday evening.
Saturday evening. Let's see what's this weekend. Saturday evening is. Why am I trying to think of? As far as I know, yeah.
We're gonna do a podcast with another podcast.
Okay.
Not you, Charlie.
I know.
You don't know baseball.
I know when I'm wanted.
you don't know baseball.
I know.
You don't know current baseball product. We wanted Cal Ripken Jr. biography. Maybe we'll call you. All right, guys. I think that's all she wrote for tonight. Thank you so much, everyone that tuned in. We appreciate it. Good night. Good luck.
Have a good week, guys.
See ya.